Good afternoon, Luang Por.
Good afternoon, Ajahn.
Today is Saturday, the 11th of October, and I wanted to start off with a question that came in recently about how to deal with chronic pain.
Well, I've never had chronic pain. I've had kind of physical pain moments, but never chronic. But speaking of terms of Dhamma and the body is its basic nature is sensitivity. So and that includes both pleasure and pain. And when you are fully convinced you are the body, then you have to identify with its changes, with its painful experiences, with its aging, with how it looks. And you take it all very personally and you suffer. If you grow old and you get all wrinkled and you're still an old wrinkled person. Or if you have a lot of ailments like chronic pain, then I suffer a lot from chronic pain. That very sense of me and mine is to be questioned. Are you really the body that you have been told you are and you believe that you are? When you believe that and never question it, never investigate, then you have to suffer through it. The old age, sickness, death of the body that you identify with. But the point of the Dhamma is to realize you're not the body. The body is a condition that was born. Its nature is to grow up, get old, get sick, and die. That's what bodies do. But are you a limited physical form that's just going to be born and then die? Or is there more to it than that? And this is where the Buddha pointed in Dhamma, or what we would in practical terms call mindfulness or awareness, conscious awareness of the body. The body can't be aware of itself, but you can be aware of the body. So being aware, like a lot of body investigation helps to break the illusion that you are the physical body that you identify with. So I encourage you to investigate in terms of Dhamma and see how you cling to the sense of I am this limited form, a man or a woman of a certain age, certain race, gender, on and on like that. Then how these illusions that you have of yourself are not what you really are. You begin to realize your true nature is the deathless reality of consciousness, pure consciousness that isn't limited by forms or space.
In the instructions that we get about meditation practice, formal walking, sitting, and developing awareness of the body, we often come across all these feelings the body experiences, which involve pleasure and discomfort or pain. So, without specifically going towards chronic pain, how do you recommend exploring physical pain when it arises in a way that challenges this identification with it?
Well, like being a witness to the body, rather than operating from the illusion that you are the body witnessing. Like you can observe your right hand and then your left hand, and you can observe both hands. Is it the body observing any, or is it consciousness allows you to witness the parts of the body separately, the whole body experience? Pain itself is none of us want pain. It's just natural to want to get rid of it. And so observe that. Who is a witness to that which wants to get rid of the chronic pain? And you begin to question and investigate rather than just give up in resignation to fate and conditions that you're totally committed to as your reality. But the more you observe the body, be the witness to it, is it the body that's witnessing, or is it consciousness? Consciousness can, if there's no consciousness, there'd be no ability there'd be no forms or no space. But time and space, the forms are all about time. Space is here and now, it has no limit. But if there was no space, there'd be no forms. But what does allow time and space to manifest is consciousness. And just by affirming yourself, listening to your mind and realizing that you're conditioned to think in a certain way about who you are, what your worth is. The thinking mind is a critical function. It will always see things that are not right, or something wrong, nose too big, eyes too small. And even the most beautiful women can criticize themselves, and because they don't have what they consider perfect, ideal features. And so I'm going to talk to women that have that problem. They think that they're not, and then they're losing the beautiful appearance as you get older is a lot of suffering if you're still identified with youth. And youth goes by very quickly. And if you're identifying with your appearance as being a pleasing, beautiful presence, and it changes as you grow older into what you think is not. People tend to not give you the same compliments when you're old and gray or bald. So this is, it's up to you yourself to figure it out. And the Buddha pointed the way to this realization of silence behind all the forms, silence, consciousness, pure consciousness. Pure consciousness doesn't have a language, so it doesn't criticize. But your thinking mind is the creation. You learn languages. You learn to think this is right, this is wrong, this is good, bad. These are conditioned values that you give to phenomena. But is space good or bad, or consciousness, awareness, is it good or bad? And, there's no quality other than spacious and knowing, and the present is like this. And but the forms that the thoughts that you have can be good or bad thoughts, right or wrong, horrible or righteous. And these are words, adjectives that we give to phenomena, beautiful or ugly, but they're created forms. They're not ultimate reality. Your body is not ultimate reality, but what is ultimate reality is conscious awareness that you can trust and put your faith and confidence, hold to that, and this is like really determining this is what you are, pure conscious awareness, rather than this mortal form which changes, which is sensitive, which gets sick, gets old, dies. And then, you say, what happens when you die? But consciousness doesn't die. Sense consciousness, because the senses are creations. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, brain, they're all forms that are created, and they come and go according to, we can lose our memory as we get old, we get dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever. So even the best education with PhDs from major universities, you can lose all that knowledge in old age with dementia. But consciousness, even when you have dementia, is still what you are. And I encourage you to really trust this, because it is a fact. It's not a theory or an idea. It's not something like a blind faith kind of faith. It's faith with wisdom involved to investigate. With what you can do in this lifetime is understand that you're not a mortal, vulnerable, sensitive, painful form. You're not a man or a woman. You're not even a human being. This consciousness is not just, is universal. It's perfect and whole, where consciousness through the senses is, like my vision is very poor these days, and my hearing. I have to ask you to speak up, because when you speak in a soft, polite voice, I can't hear you. And I don't, as a person, don't want that. It's frustrating, but it's natural. It's not me. It's just the natural process of a 90-year-old form that is packing up, ready to go. So what happens when Ajahn Sumedho dies is the body dies, but the consciousness is the deathless, and that's my refuge is in conscious awareness in Dhamma. Dhamma is conscious awareness, and consciousness, the immortal consciousness, not the sense consciousness.
You encourage kind of investigation in terms of the body And we started off with chronic pain or just pain in general in the body, and you encourage investigation, do patience, and endure what we call patient endurance, which is a bit of one of the battle horses of the forest tradition in terms of practice. How does that play into it?
Well, patience is necessary, and confidence in you are the awareness, and be patient with what you witness, whether you like it or don't like it, whether it's good or bad. Be patient with it. It'll, whatever arises ceases. And it's in the cessation of conditions that you find that you're not the condition, whether it's a good one or a bad one.
Because we need to have patience with the pain itself that comes and goes, but another aspect that needs a lot of patience is our aspiration to be patient, to be realized, our aspiration to be free from it all.
Well, with pain, chronic pain, you must be patient with it. Otherwise, you're just going to take medicines to dull it and become bitter about it and blame others, blame God, because that's the nature of the thinking mind. But patience is not about the thought patience, but the ability to endure the present condition, whatever it may be, whether it's physical or emotional.
Would it be right to say that our predicament of being stuck with this habit of grasping the body and grasping things that arise in the mind is also a bit of a chronic pain situation that the whole Buddha's teaching addresses, isn't it?
Well, that's where investigation is, because grasping is out of ignorance. So I want to have perfect health, and in my old age, I want to have perfect health. And when I die, I want to die in full lotus posture, still good looking, at 100 years old. That's a creation, you know. But, you know, when you investigate the present moment, you realize it's not going to be like that. And you have, you know, like that's vanity. I want to have a good looking corpse.
Didn't you tell me a story of a Hollywood actress who tried to die in style once?
Yeah, some 1920s movie star, this is a story I heard, decided to commit suicide, but she wanted to do it so she looked beautiful. And she ate an enchilada before she went to bed and took the poison or whatever she was using for suicide. She got sick at her stomach and died with her head in the toilet vomiting. I don't know if that's true or not. But it's a good story how, you know, vanity is, you know, vanity is how what I look like is so important. And the ego is very vain. You know, even if you're ugly, you don't want to be ugly. You try to make yourself as good looking as possible because that's the kind of pressure you get in society. So society is basically ignorant of Dhamma, and it has ideals. But their ideals are just made up out of the thought process, like dying wearing a satin gown with gardenias in my hair, peaceful and beautiful expression is an ideal. It's not the reality of life experience. So that's the ego. The ego is a contrived thing. So it's good to know your ego. That's one of the meditations in Buddhism, is to know the ego. And whatever you think you are is ego. Even if you think you're the worst person in the world, that's still ego. So ego is like the view of yourself which is a critical, what you've been told you look like. Some people are told they're beautiful, other people are told they're not, they're ugly, and one tends to grasp these images of ourselves without question. So in vanity is ego, wanting to look good for everybody or maintain eternal youth, where it's wisdom to know that the body, its very nature, having been born, is to grow up, get old, get sick, and die. No matter whether it's beautiful or ugly, that's just a fact. The birth is the cause of death. Those who are never born never die. So what's the cause of death? It's birth. You can trace the causes of death and old age and sickness to being born. And then the ego maybe wants to be born again. So when we die, we have a desire to be born again, which influences the future delusions of the future. But if we solve the problem of who we are before the body dies, that we're not the mortal forms or conditions that we experience through the body, that our real nature is the deathless reality, then there's nothing to be reborn again in either heavenly states or hellish ones. So the aim of the samana or the monk is to realize this for oneself, to realize the deathless. And like when we ordain, we say to realize nibbana, the deathless, for ourselves, not a belief in the deathless, because that's another delusion. It's not a belief in something that's ultimately real, is to realize it yourself. And some Buddhists say they have to take refuge in the Dhamma, but they don't investigate it. They have some ideal of Dhamma as something very good or some ultimate reality. So even the words ultimate reality really is not Dhamma, it's just words. Where Dhamma is the way it is, apparent here and now, timeless. So apparent here and now is consciousness. Wherever you are, you're conscious. Are you, when you're asleep, are you yes. Falling asleep doesn't mean consciousness sleeps. It's just not actively functioning through forms anymore. So deep sleep is great rest, peace. Dreaming consciousness, we still dream, the same consciousness with dreams is there's forms in it. So dreams are illusions. Just as life, the world that we live in, is basically an illusion. It's not ultimately real. And to realize this for yourself is enlightenment. But then you can't say you're enlightened because those are words. Enlightenment means there's nothing more to say. Like there's questions about who's a stream enterer, who's an arahant. And so we attach to these words. In Thailand, people go looking for arahants. And they have an idea of what an arahant is. But if they find an arahant and he doesn't live up to their standards or their ideal, they're disillusioned. It doesn't mean the arahant is impossible, but it's the path. There's a path, but nobody's on the path. Meaning, the ego can't go on the path. The path is empty and pure, like Dhamma. It's where wisdom can manifest, as well as delusion. So our conditioning is basically delusion. In my own experience, being an American Christian, that was my real world in my youth, my childhood and youth, was believing in what I was told. And then in monastic life, I've had the occasion to question all of it. Am I really Ajahn Sumedho? There was a name given to me. I have a Christian named Robert that was given to me by my parents. And so even my names are, they're conventions. They're okay, but they're not ultimately oneself. What was never given to you when you were born was consciousness. Your parents didn't give you, your mother and father gave you a form. Your mother gave birth to a form, a male and female form. But that form is in consciousness. And it's the same consciousness in a newborn baby as the mother, the father, and all of us. All creatures. Consciousness is not about species or human beings are the only really conscious creatures on the planet. It's kind of a conceit that all the other animals are not as good as we are. But it's the same consciousness. The birds, the squirrels that operate out on the grass in front of me, same consciousness. It's one, it's complete and whole, but the forms are different. So when a squirrel is born, mother doesn't have a language or to give it a name. I don't know what a squirrel is like. But I know consciousness and form. The consciousness of a squirrel is the same consciousness that I am. But the form is different. But letting go of form as oneself, letting go of memories and thoughts and views and opinions, perceptions, letting go of everything. When you've let go of absolutely everything, there's still conscious awareness, and it's peaceful, silent, no perceptions. It doesn't perceive. Perception arises in it, but in itself it's just pure bliss, ultimate reality. And to realize that for yourself is it's possible. And so with chronic pain, I encourage you to investigate, not to try to get rid of the pain. I'm not saying you shouldn't try to get rid of the pain, but be aware that that's a desire to get rid of something you don't want. It's like this. Because that's a delusion we all suffer from, wanting to get rid of what we don't like. And that's a form of desire that's created. So we never like pain, but we learn to be patient, endure, and learn from it. Our true nature is not painful. Pure consciousness isn't a painful experience, where the body basically is.
Thank you very much for these reflections, Paul.